J-Dubb here. So the general theme of this channel in 2015 has been decades and generations and things like that. So I have something to discuss following up on that theme. The other day I was listening to a radio show where they were playing this game where callers would call in and guess a movie, and at one point they established that it was an 80s movie, and so people were calling in guessing 80s movies, except every once in a while somebody would mix in a movie from the 90s. And I came to the realization that it's a pet peeve of mine for some reason to mix 90s references into 80s references. Whether the topic is movies, commercials, TV shows, or lingo from the 80s, I always see something from the 90s pop in there. So that said, here are some things that I often see pop up in discussions and videos about 80s references that are actually from the 90s. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. No! The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was very much a 90s show. The show aired from 1990 to 1996 and is not only reflects 90s culture, but was a strong influencer of 90s culture. What cartoons do you remember from the 80s? He-Man, Transformers, Voltron, Thundercats, the Ghostbusters, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. No! The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are from the 90s. Now, they started out as a comic book with a cult following in the 80s, but your memories of the cartoon show and the action figures and all the advertising and merchandising didn't start until the 90s. Did I do that? No! The television show Family Matters ran from 1989 to 1997. The character Steve Urkel wasn't introduced until the end of the first season and didn't even become a regular character until the next season, 1990. Steve Urkel is not an 80s reference, he's a 90s reference. Full House is mostly a 90s show. It began in the late 80s and the majority of its run was the 90s, so I'm a little hesitant to allow it into 80s references, but you could get away with it. It's really more a part of 90s culture than 80s culture. The Mighty Morphing Power Rangers. Don't you dare throw that in with your 80s references. By the time that show started, I was too old to be interested in it, but just the right age to watch it anyway, just for the Pink Ranger. If I was too old for it, it was not in the 80s. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure came out in 1989. That was the 80s, why does it not belong in with 80s references? Because it came out in the very last possible year of the 80s. It was not existent in 80s pop culture during the span of the 80s decade. It was, however, very much a part of 90s pop culture. It didn't, for obvious reasons, have any influence on the time period before it came out. It only had an influence on the time period after it came out. Now I sound like Doc Brown, which is an 80s reference. Game Boy, Game Gear, Tiger Handheld Games. Pretty much anything related to handheld gaming. No. Home gaming consoles were barely even a presence in the 80s, let alone handheld gaming systems. I mean, yeah, there very much were console systems, but the 80s were all about the arcades. And if you want a genuine throwback to the 80s, show me one of those mini arcade games. I had Frogger. Console gaming, on the other hand, didn't really start to boom until the late 80s and into the 90s, and that's when all the handheld stuff started becoming a thing. The California Raisins were very much an 80s thing. I just wanted to throw that one in there. Remember those guys? They heard it through the grapevine. Anything with Adam Sandler or Mike Myers doesn't belong in your 80s trivia. Get it out of there. Alright, so I don't know how many that was, but I'm going to top the whole thing off with this zinger. Wayne's World. No. Wayne's World was 90s culture incarnate. If you name Wayne's World as an 80s movie, you're just a bad person, and you need to go to jail. So that's that. I said my thing, and now I expect to see all these references disappear from any 80s trivia references ever, anywhere. See you next time, J-Dubb out. One time, a few years ago, I was walking around the Halloween store looking for a Ghostbusters costume. Oh my god, J-Dubb's wearing a fedora now? You suck! The Ghostbusters theme came on the overhead and... Wait, what did you just say? I said you suck. No, before that, what did you say? I said you're wearing a fedora now. No, I'm not. Yeah, you are, I see you. You're wearing a fedora on your head, you hipster. No, I'm not. This is a trilby. A fedora is the type of hat worn by Indiana Jones and early 20th century gangsters.